Hey, everybody, it's Wave Storm Tracking Team. Meteorologist Ryan Hoke here. We are on the line this evening here on Wave Weather Now, giving you an update on this Friday morning alert day. Some additional snow chances as we head into the first part of the weekend, and then some pretty darn cold temperatures, plus maybe another chance for some wintry shenanigans as we head toward late next week. It is an action-packed video this evening. Coming out a little later here this evening, just so I can have more of the data in. The 0Z data runs. I've been able to sample at least some of that here. So what you're going to see is literally the latest and greatest stuff that we have to share with you here. Braden says, good evening, Ryan and Wavy. Good evening to you, Braden, lifelong fan there on Facebook. And if you're on the live stream with us this evening, let us know where you're from. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hopefully no complaints. But if you do, you can air those out there as long as you keep it clean. And of course, Laura, she says, hello. Hello, Laura. Good friend of the Wave Weather office there. And we've got a few more folks just jumping in here this evening. All right, let's get you oriented with what's happening now, because in order for us to best forecast the weather, sometimes the best way to do that is to know what's happening now, get the best sense of that. And then once you have a sense of what the weather is doing now, you can then expand it forward in time. And that's called a forecast, right? So it is cold this evening. Doesn't take me to tell you that. 23 degrees right now here with Louisville, Bedford, Litchfield, Lebanon, already in the teens at this hour. I actually don't think we're going to drop much more tonight. We've got maybe another degree or so in some spots, only because we'll bottom out somewhere close to midnight at our low temperature, and we'll actually see the temperature increase as we head toward, hello, Wavy, and we'll actually see the temperature increase as we head towards sunrise, because a warmer push of air, warmer or not warm, will be accompanying some of the snow that we'll see coming in early tomorrow morning here. Got Teresa from Janetown, Angie from Lanesville. I've judged the Lanesville Heritage Parade before. That's always fun. Tara Nicole from New Albany. Angela Vanderberg, good friend of ours there. North Vernon from DJ King. Hello, DJ. Good to see you here. Patrick from New Middletown, Indiana. Nice little place out there in Corridon in Harrison County. Spent some time out there before. Oh, here's the inevitable. What do you think about JCPS closing tomorrow? I don't know. I do not know. I'm not a superintendent. It really just depends on how Louisville fares with what happens tomorrow. I would say this. There is a better chance of having school delays, and there may be some delays out of this. Sorry, I had to move the keyboard here because we've got too many keyboards. I think the greater chance of seeing any sort of school delays, and I think there will be some, would be in Indiana. Not as much in Louisville. However, this just depends on the exactness of where these snow showers are, how heavy they are, how long they resonate over the area. A lot of variables on that I can't tell you at the moment the answer to. So hopefully that helps. Clear as mud, right? Jennifer says hello from Shelbyville. Shelly's in Shepherdsville. Weathergate 502. Hey, Hokie, thanks for updating us. Hello from South Louisville. Hello, hello. And we got Marcia from LaGrange. All right. Now that we've got everybody in here this evening, and I've seen the push notifications go out to all of our platforms that we serve here, Wave Now and Wave Weather Now, and the Wave News and Weather apps, I wanted to at least start diving into this deal. All right. So we've got the alert day for Friday morning. This is kind of our master looking for snow list here. This is kind of our North Star for what we're tracking winter weather-wise, the next 4 chances here. This is about as far out as we can see. Friday night into Saturday morning, we don't have an alert day right now. These would be wet snow showers, and I'll show you why that matters here in just a minute as to why we don't have the alert day for that period just yet. Saturday afternoon, more snow showers. Those may actually be a little bit more impactful just because of the temperature. We'll see. I think the Saturday morning snow showers will be heavier. Saturday evening would just have colder air with it. And then between the 23rd and 25th of January is a pattern to watch. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is kind of the meat and potatoes here of winter, and it's certainly going to make its presence known. next week, the way things are looking, at least temperature wise. Snow wise, jury's still out on that. This is what we're just going to call a system to watch for now. Too early to say much more, but I'll show you some of my hand drawn mapping here on what I think is the setup and what may play out here. At least a couple of possibilities here in just a minute. So let's start you off. Fun sound, right? From an alert day standpoint for Friday morning, what we're looking for here. This is our bottom line. It's going to be between about 4 and 10 a.m. that we see the impacts here. That'll be when the snow showers are moving through and when temperatures are below freezing. This is not a lot of snow. This is well less than an inch of snow. I know people on Facebook like to throw tomatoes at us when we have alert days for less than an inch of snow. But I will say in response to that, do you remember what happened last night? We had isolated snow showers and snow squalls that moved across parts of southern Indiana, Louisville, Shelby County, Franklin County, Oldham County. And while they didn't put down much snow, the temperature dropped so quickly, we still had enough moisture left over that the roads were slicker than snot out there. I mean, Spaghetti Junction, a mess. 265 at 71, a mess. 64 in Shelby County, complete mess. 64 near Story Avenue, a mess. You get the picture. And there was more than just that. That's just a sample of what I saw last night. I was out driving in it a little bit. And of course, I did see the reports from TriMark and others. So it doesn't take much. We know that from last night. So that's why the alert day is in place tomorrow morning. I need to find the graphic, and I'll find it here before the end of this broadcast. But we have a graphic that shows you the reason why we do this really. And it has to do with the amount of vehicle crashes and the amount of snow in Louisville. It doesn't take much to really see a lot of crashes when it comes to snow around here. I'm going to see if I can search for it. I found it. Look at this. Search function is amazing on our graphics app. Okay, so this is part of the reason why we do this. Look at how many total vehicle collisions in a 10-year span from 05 to 15. I know this is old, but this is what we got. Happened between a trace and half an inch. There were more vehicle crashes than a full-blown snowstorm when we only had half an inch of snow. And that rose to quite a bit when we had between half an inch and 1 inch of snow. And then you look at 1 to 3 inches, it's up there too, but it really falls off after 3 inches. Why is that? One, people see there's a hazard, right? It's easy to see. If there's more than 3 inches of snow on the ground or on the roads, yikes, you can see that. You're going to slow down, right? Two, people are expecting it, right? We don't just get like a 3 to 6 inch plus snowstorm without any sort of forewarning, right? That just doesn't happen in 2025 and 2026 here, right? So awareness is high. So people are not out as much. People have already canceled plans. People are making diversions so that they don't have to be out in the snow. When you have a trace to an inch, roughly, we'll just lop those two together, that's an inconvenience in my mind and everybody else's mind, psychologically, sociologically here. This seems like not a big deal, right? So you kind of treat that as more of a normal day. The problem is that the snow doesn't care if it's a half inch or 3 inches. It's still slicker than snot. We saw that last night. So we want to make sure that you know that even if it is just a half inch of snow, there can be a lot of vehicle crashes with that. Again, this data, Louisville, Jefferson County here via NWS Louisville. I know it's about 10 years old, but it still rings true. We saw it last night. Speaking of NWS Louisville, they have pulled the trigger earlier today on a winter weather advisory here in purple for I-64 and north. So that includes Louisville, yes. Their timing is between 4 and 10 a.m., also excellent. Notice it's just kind of like just their area and just along the north of 64. Yes, they do stand out as being the only office that has put out a winter weather advisory for this situation, only because the thinking here is impact-based, not criteria-based. And you don't have to agree with that per se, but it is very respectable that they would want to put this out there to be like, hey, guess what? There may be something unsafe in the morning. We want to make sure you're prepared. A couple with 2 kids in elementary school, getting their kids kind of prepared for the next morning, hats, gloves, homework all done, study for test. They don't care what the criteria is for a winter weather advisory. They don't care. They don't. They just want to know, is it safe or not? And do I have to do anything different to prepare my family for the next morning? That's what the National Weather Service is thinking of here. It's impact-based, saying, hey, you may need to take some extra time. There may be some school delays because it may be just enough to cause some crashes on the interstates. And you may need to make other plans if your school system is delayed in the morning. I know that causes a big problem for parents and families for childcare. Childcare is not cheap. Childcare is also something that's hard to get last minute. It is tough. Finding a babysitter for 2 extra hours on a 2-hour delay is sometimes easier said than done. So that's why NWS Louisville did that. They explained that quite thoroughly today. We already had our alert day out. They put out this winter weather advisory not too long after. So it just is all impact based. So to my colleagues in the weather profession in this town, please cut these folks some slack, all right? They do a great job. We've had a long-standing partnership with the National Weather Service here in Louisville. They've been very clear. They've been very transparent. These are folks that live in our community. I visited NWS Louisville when I was 16 years old, and it was one of my first job shadows. Excellent place, one of the best premier weather offices in the country. I know those folks. I've known some of them for a very, very long time. So that's what the winter weather advisory is about. And it is a very respectable thing for them to do to raise the awareness. And you may think like, oh, okay, so it's a winter weather advisory. Who cares? It matters because this advisory goes to a lot of different places, right? Sometimes it hits your phone apps. It hits the smart devices like the Amazon Echoes with screens in your house you might have. It says, hey, winter weather advisory. It gets your attention. Not everybody has the Wave Weather app and is plugged in as we are here on this live stream. But it's important to get the awareness out. And this is often one of the best ways to do it, especially if it's a situation where it doesn't meet criteria, because you put out a special weather statement. Nobody knows what a special weather statement is. All right. That's categorically true for, I think, 90% of the people who live in our 34 counties. You're going to have the weather nerds like me and you guys who are like, oh, yeah, special weather statement. That's just not an advisory, not a warning. It's just like, hey, watch out. There could be something hazardous, but it doesn't rise to the occasion of advisory. But they made the decision to go with an advisory. All right, I'm going to get off my, I don't even want to call it a soapbox. This is more just explaining what they're doing, more so than advocating for anything. Because, again, you don't have to agree with it or not. I may not agree with it. Who knows? But at this point, that's what they've done. We've got the alert day. We're putting out the clarion call that, hey, even though this is not much snow, there could be some problems in the morning. So you may ask, where's the beef, right? Okay, where's the snow? And the snow right now is in Illinois, and this snow is on its way to us. Now, there are some problems with this snow, and I'll be very clear here. The temperature right now is 23 degrees. You see it on the I can't point in a mirrored image. There we go. Temperature is 23 degrees. You see it there in the banner. The dew point right now, I think, is running in the single digits. So that results in a relative humidity that's probably going to eat some of these snowflakes before they make it to the ground as they're pushing in. So that's not great to see a lot of snow, right? That means some drier air may overcome this and it won't be as impressive as what you see here. Doesn't matter. Even if, a good burst of flurries makes it down to the ground, when it's 24, 25, 26, 27 degrees in the morning, that can cause some slick roads. And that's the reason why we're concerned. We're going to see overnight how this trends. You can already see it is holding together pretty well as it approaches like Champaign and Mount Vernon, Illinois. So it may have some staying power. Seeing that on the radar gives us confidence that something may very well make it here and cause a few problems in the morning. Again, we're talking about all of this with what happened last night in mind. We have seen that so classically here in Louisville. I grew up here, and it only takes that dusting, that half inch of snow when folks are kind of just like, it's not going to be a big deal. And maybe, it just isn't forecast as well as it could be. Maybe the temperature drops a little faster. There's so many variables that can turn it from kind of a pretty snow globe snow to a holy cow, everything is shut down snow, like last night with so many of the interstate closures because of it. So that's why we're treading very carefully with this. So here's what we've got for the hour by hour rain snow chances here. The snow would be in the morning, so 6 a.m., 40% chance of snow here. Then we get into a little bit of a lull by midday, and you see how it turns green. Those green bars mean rain. The pink would be a rain snow mix. So I think we'll flip over to rain for a time, just because we'll get up to like 42, 44 degrees in the afternoon, and that would be solidly enough for just rain here. But then that temperature will start to drop Friday night. So anything after dark Friday night would probably fall as snow. So this is our bottom line. Here's the map you came here for. And I know some folks are probably logging on and going, holy cow, it's only a dusting. It's not eye-popping. I know. It's not social media grab your attention extreme, all the crazy graphics you see, some of these, weather pages that they post about far off snowstorms that will never happen, et cetera, et cetera. This is just reality right here. This is what we have. This is a dusting along and south of I-64, and then maybe up to a half inch, possibly some 1 inch spots closer to Indianapolis there. And that would be north of I-64 in southern Indiana. If you're in Bedford, Jasper, Paoli, Seymour, Salem, Scottsburg, Lexington, Indiana, and Madison and North Vernon, you guys stand the best chance of seeing some of those 2-hour delays tomorrow morning. We saw some of those today. Wouldn't shock me to see another round of those tomorrow. Everybody's like, okay, is JCPS going to delay? What are they going to do? NTI, we don't know. At this point, it is still a chance, but I think the better chance is to the north. I don't have anything more than that, just because we need to see how this plays out. And I'm not the superintendent of Jefferson County Public Schools. That is a job that I don't want. I definitely respect that job. It is a big, big job. I'll keep doing weather here, and of course defer to the more experienced folks in education on what to do about these snow days and the like here. Okay, so 5 o'clock on Friday evening. So now we've gone past the morning situation here, and we're heading kind of into the evening. I do want to discuss the evening because it will eventually turn back to snow, right? So we've got this rain around dinner time on our Friday. Eventually, we start to see it flip back over to snow, 7, 8 o'clock, temperatures dropping. And then we've got a slug of snow here at 10 p.m. Caution, caution, caution. Some of the models are trying to do this more east, almost completely east of our counties. This is the 3-kilometer NAM model. It's still trying to kind of pinpoint our counties for this. I still think there's a pretty good chance some of our counties could get clipped by accumulating snow here based on what I've seen with the 0Z runs this evening. And then it would just be lighter snow showers early Saturday and additional snow showers. And these could also accumulate, by the way, Saturday evening. Yes, Saturday evening, more snow showers. And these could also cause a few troubles on the roads. But because it's not a morning or an evening commute during a weekday, a little harder to affix an alert day to this right now until we see greater evidence that this would have any more impact, okay? So let me move a couple maps around. Okay, so this is the map for Friday night into Saturday. So the first round of snow that I showed you that was like the dusting for tomorrow morning, that melts. That's gone. It'll be 44. It's out of here. But by Friday night, early Saturday, we'll see additional snow. Right now, we've got 1 to 2 south and east of Louisville. We may need to pare that back even more to our east. So if you're in Bardstown, E-Town, Litchfield, Shelbyville, Frankfort, that may be an inch or less. Maybe we'll see. I still need to get a little bit more acquainted with the 0Z data here if I make any changes. But if you're in like Columbia, kind of like the foothills of the Appalachians, and I know that's pretty far west, but technically your elevation does start to rise. Down there near Columbia, you could very well see kind of the highest amount of snow in our area based on what we're seeing in the data here. So again, this is just the Friday night into early Saturday version of this. We don't have an alert day affixed to this just yet. Great question that just came up, by the way. Why does the snow always go to eastern Kentucky? Elevation, 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 and elevation. It's all about the mountains of eastern Kentucky. Literally starting around I-65, there is a gentle slope upward in elevation. Louisville is at like 490 feet elevation, maybe 500 feet, something like that. Lexington's a little closer to 1,000. Cincinnati's a little closer to 1,000. So let's just play with ballpark numbers here. You've got a 500-foot increase in elevation between I-65 and I-75, roughly. That's pretty good. And it gets even more extreme than that as you go from I-75 over toward Ashland and Pikeville, Kentucky. So all of that increasing elevation lifts the air as it flows from west to east. Lifting air creates snow. You need lift to create snow. So there is typically more snow in eastern Kentucky, and by a large margin because of elevation, because not only do you have that upslope flow or lift, you also have lower temperatures because you're at a higher elevation. Temperature drops with elevation. So that's why eastern Kentucky gets more snow. Tommy's asking, how much snow will Carrollton get? You see Carrollton on the map here. Less than an inch, most likely. And this is, again, the Friday night version of things. The Friday morning version, you'd get probably a dusting or a little bit more, just so you know. Okay, let's go through some of the data here. Let's get nerdy. Okay, so this is, this says Sunday. I apologize for that. I can change that just to eliminate confusion here. But this is going to be through Saturday night, if it will let me change it. Maybe. There we go, presto. Okay, so now this says the right thing. I just don't want anybody to be confused. This is basically taking all the snow that will fall between now and Saturday night and compacting it together. The problem is a few tenths of an inch may be missing from the actuality of that because tomorrow morning snow would melt, right? So you see the NAM goes berserk. It won't let me play that back. There we go. You see the NAM goes berserk here with measurable snow all throughout our Kentucky counties. And that would mainly come from Friday night and early Saturday. Graph is a bit more sensible, does have some measurable snow. Whenever you see the blue, that's more than an inch. So you get more measurable snow in the blue than you would in the gray, which is kind of traced to an inch. So, it has some measurable snow in central and eastern Kentucky. The HER model, and this is the 0Z here, keeps the measurable snow east of us. And that has been kind of a feature of some of the data this evening, trying to push that more so into like Berea and Somerset and Jamestown, Kentucky, down near London. That would be kind of the sweet spot according to some of this data here. And you see kind of the blue up in southern Indiana too. And that's very possible that we would get, a few tenths of an inch up there. But I think a lot of this is just additive for southern Indiana. And you may have to subtract a little bit of that intensity just because Friday morning snow would melt with the warmer temperature. And then we get the GFS, which kind of is a nice middle ground between some of the data you've seen here. I don't hate it. The Euro, okay, next. And then that's our forecast here. So you can see that our forecast and the GFS are kind of friends. The NAM is probably too overdone, in my opinion. It does that. It has been right sometimes. So we do need to watch it and see the trends here. But remember, with all the data you're seeing here, all these pretty colors, subtract a little bit of what you see just because it will melt after Friday morning. And then we start fresh Friday night. One more thing I'm tracking for this snow Friday night, and the reason why I'm a little more conservative on some of the snowfall for the Friday night and Saturday morning version of this is because of, let me get my bearings here. Is this right here? Perfect. This is a period of above freezing temperatures that you see from Friday midday through about Saturday at 4 a.m. It takes until, at least on the HER model here, 5:30 in the morning for us to get below freezing. So that snow that's falling Friday night and early Saturday would have trouble accumulating because the air would have gotten to 44 degrees the day prior, and then we will still be trying to get to freezing, at least here in Louisville. This is Louisville strictly here, by early Saturday morning. Once we get beyond 5, 6 a.m., we're below freezing. Anything that falls after that, it'll stick, and the ground temperatures will slowly come down too. So you see where it does have the snow right here. That's what this column is. And it puts down about a quarter to a third of an inch of snow here in Louisville. And it does so, interestingly enough, starting right around the time right here. And if you kind of just juxtapose that over, this is hard to draw on. There we go. Right about there. Perfect. Right as it's starting to go to or below freezing. So it is definitely starting to key in on the accumulations taking until it gets below freezing to really take place. Some models, including the NAM, are like, hey, everybody gets a ton of snow. And it happens when it's 36 degrees. maybe you'll get some rate-driven snow accumulation on the grass or elevated surfaces for a time, and you could have some problems on bridges and overpasses, by the way. But that would be kind of hard to really see something with staying power at that temperature. You really need to get it a little closer to freezing. So that's my sermon on temperature versus snow amount. And then one more thing here that's fun tomorrow morning, and this kind of leads into our forecast. It gets cold tomorrow morning, as we know, across much of wave country. But Friday morning in Florida will be well below freezing from Apalachicola down toward Gainesville. They may have falling iguanas. They've seen this already once or twice this season. The iguanas get cold shocked and they just fall out of trees. They're fine. They reanimate once it warms back above like 40, 50 degrees, but it's kind of comical. Inevitably, you'll see a video of that on your social media feeds probably by tomorrow afternoon. Thought that was interesting. All right. What I'm going to do is answer a couple questions. Then we're going to take a quick commercial break. Then we're going to go over the long-term cold and snow chances. We've just gone over the short term. So let's see what's going on here. Let's see. What are your thoughts on MJO amplifying and the CPC having us above precip in the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14? And it also looks pretty cold after. Whoa, yes, that's a loaded question. But yes. I know about all that. CPC, we will literally show that exact outlook you're talking about, the heavy precip. I have it loaded in our show here. You'll see that. Yes, that needs to be there. Yes. And the MJO amplifying, yes, that's a big deal because it goes from kind of, if you're looking at the MJO chart, it kind of looks like a whirligig, right? So any value that's near the center of it is just kind of like, there's no real impact of the MJO or Madden-Julian oscillation, which is like big recurring waves in the atmosphere that go around the Earth, right? And when they're in certain places and certain phases, they do certain things to our weather, and they are a pretty good influence on our weather. It's been shown. But yes, it becomes more amplified. It gets away from the center of it. I think we go into phase, I can't remember the phase. Is it 8 or 6? Anyway, it's one of them that you kind of need to watch for snow and cold to try to lock into the eastern part of the U.S. Anyway, yes. All of that is a big deal, James. Thank you for bringing that up. Chris talking about, is there any possibility of those temps Friday being lower? Not in Florida per se. I think that's probably where it's going to bottom out. I think these are National Weather Service numbers here that you're seeing here. Just joining, how will it be in Louisville in the morning? I will put that accumulation map back up just so you can see before we go to break here, because I know people are kind of tuning in and out. Dusting of snow, yes, there could be some slick spots. The bigger issue may be southern Indiana north of the river. A few tenths of an inch, half an inch, something like that, as we saw last night. That can cause problems, crashes, especially with temperatures in the 20s like we're expecting here. Any chance this could move west? I'm assuming you're talking about the Friday night, early Saturday. Yeah, we're not locked in on that just yet. School delays, or is it not going to amount to anything? I think there will be some delays, especially in Indiana, but we'll see what exactly happens with that. Oh, Chris was asking. I'm referring to here, Ryan. Sorry. Yeah, that came up when I had the Florida graphic on the screen. Sorry for the confusion. Yeah, there may be some. Because of the rain and the snowfall rates, we'll see some dynamic cooling, potentially evaporative cooling, really, as we go throughout tomorrow. And that could result in a temperature that's lower than what we're expecting, but I still think it'll be well above freezing. So we did talk about that in the weather office this week. Brian and I put our heads together and kind of weighed the pros and cons of evaporative cooling versus the warm air trying to push in from the southwest in this little warm sector here. There's just a lot of things that we had to look at on that. Let's see. What are we looking at in Meade County? Trying to get my ducks in a row. There you go. Widespread snow showers. You could see a few tenths of an inch, less than an inch of snow, but it could be impactful because it'll be cold. All right. I won't answer any more questions about exact placement just because I've given you the maps. I've given you the information. I know that some folks are joining late, but you can zoom back in time once we finish this broadcast and see that here on Facebook or wherever you may be watching, like YouTube. All right. So let's take a quick break. I'm going to talk about the cold and then our extended snow chance, and then take some of your questions. It's 10 o'clock here. We're going to try to get off the air here at 10:15, hopefully. So give me just a second here as I get my break rolling. Where is that? Here it is. And we will be right back. All right, we are back. We are back. Hopefully you're still with us here. We've got cold air moving in. It's going to get even colder than what we have just seen already this week, which was cold. Today was cold. Temperatures near 30 for a high. But on today's Hoke weather fact, which you can see on Wave News at 7 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday, that Louisville's average coldest low temperature of the year happens between January 16th and January 27th, which is interesting. Today's date is the 15th, right? Well, right on target. Check this out. By Sunday morning, which would be January 18th, we'd be down to 17 degrees for an overnight low. Wind chills, by the way, in the single digits. That's cold, but it gets even colder by Tuesday. And this may very well be the coldest reading we see in 2026 if we don't get some sort of mega snowstorm that plunges us below zero, which can happen. Not saying it will, just can. That would be 11 degrees Tuesday morning, and that would be January 20th, which would be right in that exact range of when we see our average coldest low temperatures here in Louisville. So this is very much matching up with climatology here, which is kind of interesting. You know, we always say the weather is anything but normal, but this is kind of normal. This is typically what we see. By the way, our wind chills Tuesday morning would be about 2 above here in Louisville. And wherever you see kind of that blue, white, green shade, I don't know even what to call that, turquoise, that would be below 0 wind chills. East and north of Louisville, Indianapolis, 3 below for a wind chill. That's the feels like temperature. Then we get you into Martin Luther King Jr. Day. A lot of folks have a 3-day weekend from school and from work. We're looking for a high of 24 degrees. That's 6 degrees colder than today on Monday, and that's the high temperature. A lot of folks may be keeping up with the weather down in Miami just because IU is playing in that monumental CFP championship game down there. Holy cow, 68 degrees the temperature around the time of kickoff there, maybe a couple degrees cooler just because it would be after the high temperature of the day. But nonetheless, sunshine in 60s sounds awfully good any time of year. That's for certain. So now let's chat about what happens after this. So we see kind of a warm-up happen mid-late next week. So this would be like Wednesday, Thursday. Highs in the 40s. Unremarkable. And then late next week is more interesting. Now, there is the chance for some wintry precip around here. What do I mean by that? I mean a wintry mix, snow, sleet, all the different precipitation types. We just don't know yet. It depends on this area of low pressure near the Tennessee Valley and where it goes. Notice I've put 2 tracks on there, kind of those repeating arrows. And one of them is more of a northerly track. It may try to track somewhat west of the Appalachians there. And then one is kind of more of a southerly track and redevelops the low off of like Cape Hatteras or something like that on Saturday. Either of those tracks are interesting. The very southern track would kind of miss us just because it would keep all the precipitation down to our south. The northern track could be a little more interesting. It unfortunately exposes us to more of those precipitation types because the warmer air would be closer by, could have some overrunning. Don't want to talk about ice at this point because that's like way too far in advance, but I at least want to float the possibility that freezing rain and sleet may be in the cards on this. We'll see. Every model run looks different. It's still like 9-10 days out, so I don't want to get too cute with this. That's why I drew this by hand today, just to give you a sense of the setup here with this and that it's something we need to track, especially like Friday, Saturday of next week. It's part of the looking for snow that you're going to see again here in just a moment. I think it was James. I hope I got your name right. It was. I see your comment right here. Bingo. It says, it's a pretty good sign that CPC has a slight risk for heavy snow between the 23rd and 25th just to our north. Yes, that did get a lot closer today. And you referred, James, on YouTube earlier to the CPC's 8 to 14 heavy precipitation outlook. That is what I'm showing on the screen right now. Remember, precipitation is not just rain. It is also snow. It is also sleet. It is also freezing rain. So the CPC is concerned about heavy precipitation in our area during that time. It may not be rain. It could be, but there may be some snow in that as well. I may be able to fish for the heavy snow outlook too. I have to have like laser vision on these computers. They're so small. Let's see here. See if I can get the right one to show up just so we can show what James is talking about. Because I think it is important to at least kind of acknowledge, you know, what we're seeing with that. We're going to get close. Got temperature, precipitation. I know we've got the heavy snow one somewhere here. It's excessive heat. I found it. I think that's below normal temperature outlook. You can see where unusually cool temperatures may occur in the next 8 to 14 days. I think we're getting closer. Frost risk, heavy snow. There it is. There you go. So you see that low risk of heavy snow literally comes down to like Seymour, Indiana. So that is important to note. That means that the CPC, or Climate Prediction Center branch of the National Weather Service, is concerned about that system in particular doing something to the Midwest. How far south does it go? They don't really know just yet, but it's just like, hey, we're floating that idea. So you kind of pair that map up, and then I'll flip to the other map here, the heavy precipitation map. And you can almost see where they're like, okay, I see where the snow is most likely to the north, and then the precipitation of whatever type would be kind of lower Ohio Valley, and then rain would most likely be Tennessee Valley and south. I can kind of see through their eyes, through my meteorological experience, that's kind of what they're looking for right now with these outlooks. You can almost kind of pin together what data they've looked at and what setup they're going for based on that. So thought that was interesting. Let's leave up the looking for snow list for a minute and get to some of these comments here, because there's a lot of them here. All-time coldest in Louisville, I think, was 94. Was that 94? My brain has turned to mush. There's too many numbers. As you get older, these big records, you start forgetting them just because other things happen, and you start adding to your library of weather history without subtracting from it. So it all just kind of goes together. So forgive me while I'm on my phone here, and I can look that up for you because I know exactly where to find it. Let's see. Top 10 coldest of temperature extremes. Temperature extremes. There we go. Got it. All-time low was, 94. Whoo, I got it. 22 below zero, January 19th, 1994. Oh, how funny, too. That's only a few days away from being the 32nd anniversary of that storm. Makes me feel old because that's one of the first weather events I remember was the 94 snowstorm there. The snow came up to my waist. I was a little tyke when it happened. So yeah, that's the all-time coldest there. 22 below zero in January of 94. Dave says, I would still go with the Euro 94 going down further north towards us. I have a photographic memory. You got down to 23 below. Yeah, you're very close. 22 below. Everybody knows 22 below. But me, it seems. I remember seeing that number. I just couldn't remember it right now. Some of the models also hinted at multiple overrunning systems before the end of the month, which would be crazy. Yes, yes, yes. That's why I kept saying precipitation, different types, instead of like, oh, just rain or snow, because that overrunning, freezing rain possibility is definitely there before the end of the month. I don't like it either. Let's see what happens, though. Take a deep breath. This is not imminent, all right? This is just something we're keeping a track of. Regardless of which track we get, would this be a snowstorm here? No, not with what I just showed you. The southern track would steal all the moisture from us, and we wouldn't really see much. The northern track, or some semblance of that middle track, would be a little bit more of a winter weather event for us here. 94 was also when we had the 37 below in Shelbyville. That is the Kentucky Commonwealth state record there. Yep. 15.9 inches of snow. Yep, John Belsky was here at Wave. Oh, hey, wavy alert. Indianapolis National Weather Service issues light snow late tonight through Friday morning commute. And you can see the counties listed there. If you ever see those pop up, that means one of our counties is involved. And yes, you see Jackson, Jennings, and probably Lawrence. There it is too. So they're just issuing an SPS, or a special weather statement, for tomorrow morning. They are not going with a winter weather advisory because of what you see at the bottom of the screen. That pretty much confirms that. Interesting, interesting. Okay, let's get to more comments. Let's see. What else do we have? Save the iguanas, please. They're not dead, by the way. These iguanas falling out of trees tomorrow morning in Florida, they're just cold shocked. It'll be fine. They're good. They've done this many times recently, that's for sure. Dave's like, hey, everybody, I'm on YouTube and Facebook at the same time. Amazing technology. Yes, we broadcast on both platforms. Like Brian said, we don't want anything set in stone that far out because it's subject to change. Yes, that's why I hand drew the map today, just to show you the possibilities, but not to show you scary, crazy weather model data that won't ever actually come to fruition in the way that it shows. I want to at least give you ideas, but without buying into the 50 inches of snow next week BS that's on Facebook sometimes. Just so you know. That's not what we're here to do. We don't hype this stuff. I've been very straightforward with how this is going to work here. Okay, I know winter weather advisories used to trigger the weather call at the bottom of Wave Weather Now and Wave TV, and it can also trigger weather calls on other stations. Yeah, we have an evolved policy on that for advisories. We do not crawl advisories on TV anymore. We do not do that on Wave Weather Now unless it's worded a certain way. I'm trying to think of how I coded that, but some advisories won't show up, some will. But, you know, advisories are something to pay attention to, but we don't think it rises to the level of interrupting programming with a crawl on the screen anymore. We try to reserve what you see on the screen on NBC, Wave here in Louisville for life-threatening situations like tornado warnings, tornado watches, blizzard warnings, winter storm warnings, flash flood warnings. Oh gosh, I think we've got extreme cold in there and high wind warnings. Those are the ones that are like, that's bad news. You can have a humanitarian crisis because of any of those. We want to make sure those are the ones that are getting people's attention, right? We don't want to pollute you with weather information that may just be marginally, you know, impactful when on our broadcast side of things. Now, obviously here on our live stream, we'll do a little bit more than that because you're weather nerds, we're weather nerds, etc. Let's see. We're going to end this in about a minute here. So this will probably be 2 more comments. Okay. Lori says there have been a lot of wrecks in Meade and Hardin County just today. Yes. There was black ice this morning. It was bad news. No bueno. That's why we've got the alert day and the winter weather advisory for tomorrow. We don't want a repeat of that without something to say, hey, pay attention to folks. We drive about 40 minutes from East Oldham to Clifton, Louisville for school. Concerned about roads tomorrow for school. Yeah, in Louisville, I'd be a little less concerned. In Eastern Oldham County, I'd be a little more concerned. You're just a bit north. The more north you go tomorrow morning, the more chance you have to be exposed to these snow showers and some slick spots. So once you're in Louisville, it may get better, but I don't know that for sure just because we have to really see how this unfolds on the radar in the morning. This is kind of a wait and see, but you'll at least know to wake up early to check it to see what's going on. All right, final one. Christian Bates. I also think the way the weather was last winter, I think 1 or 2 snowstorms are possible this winter, so fingers crossed. Yeah, that's probably not a bad forecast. I think we're going to get something, and I wouldn't call them snowstorms. I think we'll at least get 1 or 2 decent winter storms, potentially, the way this is setting up for the end of the month. We'll see how February fares. That may be an extension of what the end of the month will be, so that would give us more time for that to happen. So we'll see how that goes. All right, guys, guess what? I have a newscast at 11 p.m. Eastern here I have to get on for. So I'm going to leave you with the 10-day earliest alert, which is what I'm going to share with you guys at 11 if you're local to us on television. And, of course, Wave Weather Now is our 24/7 live stream. You can access it on either wave3.com/weather now. The Wave Weather app has that tap to see live button at the very top that gives you this live stream, and it's 24/7 with like a 12-minute loop of updated live weather information, cameras, warnings, wavy alerts. It's everything. We are the only locally centered weather live stream that runs 24 hours. I am surprised it has taken as long as it has for us to still be the only one, which is fantastic. We've been running since June of 2022. The Wave Weather Now live stream here is getting ready to turn 4 years old. That makes me feel old. Wow, it's already been 4 years that we've been doing this here. So thanks to all of our viewers. All right, guys, I'm getting out of here. Got to go do the 11 o'clock news from our other studio here shortly. I will see you on TV this evening. Please be safe in the morning with our alert day. And, of course, stay tuned for what may lie ahead, especially late next week. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you at 11 on Wave News.